Got up early today to get a little practice in for my trip up hiking with my kids. Thought maybe today would be a fun day to think about love on the way up the hill. So I'll just share some thoughts with you as I go. Town of Calistoga, and looking down the valley toward home as the sun rises. Ruts that were left back in the day by the wagon wheels in the rock. This is a really obvious one right here. Hiking down the Palisades Trail, made it to the top. Okay, just a lot of rocks up on a dry hill, but beautiful Napa Valley down below. C.S. Lewis wrote a book called The Four Loves, and in it he makes the point that the Greeks had more nuanced words for love, and that rather than just use this one word to encompass all these various meanings, they used a more precise words. And the four words that he points to are philos, like philanthropic or philanthropy. Phil is the root of that, just means attraction. So friendship is, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Adelphos is brother in Greek. So Philadelphia. So there's philos. The second one would be storge. This word is not used much in the New Testament anyway, but it's the word for like a familial love. Then there's eros, which is pretty obvious what that is, like erotic. It's a sexual love, romantic love. And then agape, which the argument is that agape is used for this kind of pure, unconditional love, the kind of love that God has for us. The analogy people give is that this is sort of like the Eskimos have, however, a whole bunch of words for ice. We just call it ice. But if you live and the ice is your world, you have a whole bunch of nuanced words to describe the various kinds of ice. And so in the same way, the idea is that the Greeks had this kind of more sophisticated stratification of meanings for love, and that they understood love much better than we do. There might be some truth to this, but it has definitely been overplayed. We have words. When I talk to you about eros, well, we can talk about eroticism. We understand romantic love is different than love for a child or love for pizza, right? It's not exactly true to say that the Greeks were like experts at love and they thought through all the nuances of it. Also, the word agape is one that seems to have popped up during the Koine period, during the biblical Greek time. And some people say, Christians even invented this to try to describe this unconditional love of God. Probably that's not true, but in any case, this idea that there are these really precise, defined meanings of love that the Greeks had, and that we're just like stupid because we only have one word for it all, it's not really true. Because we can talk about friendship as opposed to married love, and we have ways of describing the different nuances of love as well. Here is my annoying conclusion about love, the unwelcome observation that I have discovered about love, and that is that love is simply a mask of virtue worn by desire. When you boil it down, every one of these loves that Lewis mentions, whether it's romantic love or love for children or love for a friend, these are all forms of desire. Why do I like my friend? Because that person is attractive to me. I find them to be, I want to get close to them. Why do I love the beautiful girl? Because same thing, I'm attracted. Why do I love my kids? I'm attracted. So in every case, at the core is simple desire. I desire these things. So there's nothing magical about this. Now, the one exception you might say is agape, because agape, the claim is that it is unconditional love. It's a beautiful notion. Unfortunately, it's simply not true. As you read through the Bible, you don't find a God who unconditionally loves everyone or everything. He loves his chosen people. He doesn't even love them when they're rebellious. He does, threatens them with disaster if they don't obey him. You might point to the cross as an exception of this. Here is God loving his enemy, laying down his life for an enemy. However, what's happening there is Jesus, as the Christian story goes, is seeking to redeem his chosen people, right? He sees something that he wants. He wants, just in the same way that I might look at an old beat up car and think, oh man, I could buy that thing and fix it up and make it beautiful, but it's going to cost me. Well, I'll pay the price. I'm going to love it. The goal is not to leave it, like junky, because who loves a junky car? The goal is to fix it up. And if you refuse to be fixed up, if you reject this quote love, then you wind up being forever rejected by God. So the idea that God loves unconditionally is, as beautiful as that is in theory, it just doesn't work itself out. Here is the hard truth. We only ever do what we consider to be in our own best interest. There are no exceptions to this. You might immediately point to your love for your child and say, look how I sacrifice for my child. But I would stop and say, well, why do you sacrifice for your child? It's because you find joy in that. You find a greater joy in helping them than in, taking care of your own whatever, I don't know, you want to buy a new car, you want to buy a new boat, but instead you pay money for your child to go to school, and you think, wow, what sacrifice. The truth is you're making a selfish decision to do what you want more. You would rather have a well-educated, healthy child than a, child on the welfare rolls or whatever. You love your child, as in desire, you care about. And so what I'm trying to do is so hard, is to strip away this notion of virtue. Love is not virtue. Love is just us doing what we observe to be the most attractive thing, taking the most attractive path. Maybe you point to the soldier who lays down his life for his country. Again, amazing. How wonderful that this person cares enough about their country to give the ultimate sacrifice, to lay down their life. But they don't do it because there's no reason, right? The idea is that the United States, or whichever country they're defending, is so precious, so valuable, that it is even more attractive than their own life. You don't just do it because, I wouldn't lay down my life for the North Korea, right? I might lay down my life for something I believe in that's very precious to me. I think I would easily lay down my life for my children, but I do that because I desire it, not because I'm good. And so love, I found to be my deepest deception. I based my life on the assumption that there was a God who loved me and had me at the center, had a plan, would take care of me, and I found that not to be true. I expected church to be a place where people operated in this kind of selfless, virtuous, giving way where there wasn't selfishness. And I most definitely found that not to be true. what I found is everywhere I look, both in human nature and in nature itself, is that everything is looking out for number one. It goes all the way down to the atomic level, atoms stealing electrons from each other. I also find it not a coincidence that the two most common things we say about God are, number one, God is love. Number two, God is good. These are our deepest deceptions. And I would say if you want to know what we think about ourselves, just look at what we think about God or what we say about God. Also, not a coincidence that the first 4 of the 10 Commandments are basically forms of God saying, put me first, put me at the center. And at the end of everything, when the world is remade and we are swooped off to heaven, everyone is before God bowing and worshiping. That is the very definition of selfishness. So this is the heart of Rapax, this specter that I have defined, that is the realization that we live in a world where, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, guess I'll go eat worms. Now, this all really sounds really, really grim and negative, and you go like, well, there are people in my life who care about me, and no doubt there are, but let me just test you on that. What happens if you misbehave, if you let them down, if you don't give them what they expect or need or want from you? Will they continue to love you, or will they get annoyed? So I'll say it again, love is our deepest deception. Love is simply the mask of virtue worn by desire. When I first read Ayn Rand, it was after I had left the church and was thoroughly disillusioned with this idea of love, that God loved me, that there was this virtuous, wonderful group of people who were somehow above selfishness at the church. And it was, when I read Rand, it was like a breath of fresh air, because here's somebody who is at least telling the truth, who is at least calling things as they really are. But when you trace this out and follow through the implications the way Ayn Rand did, you wind up with a dog-eat-dog world where everybody should just, be as selfish as possible and take advantage of each other as much as possible, fight for the best deal. I get all I can out of you, you get all you can out of me. No compassion, just completely, I'm in it for me, let's quit kidding ourselves. And you wind up, well, her idea was that if we just would let that happen, then we would wind up in this beautiful world like she describes up in, this heavenly place in Colorado where life is just works so beautifully because everybody is just totally selfish. And then we have this sort of like heavenly community that everyone escapes to. It just doesn't work like that. When human beings go at each other to get as much as they can out of each other, it just is ugly. It looks like a fight. It does not look like harmony. So is there a way out of this? Are we just stuck with living in a world of predation where we just, devour everything we can? Or is there an alternative? Well, this is what I came up against as I wrestled with this idea of love and wanted, so much to have this connection with people, but had to recognize that at the core, I have this selfish nature. When Rapax destroyed my illusion of love, I was left in alienation. I was like Ayn Rand. I didn't see any way out of this. I thought the only option, I guess, is to, go to war with everybody, get as much as I can out of everybody, if I'm selfish, just lean into that and be selfish. But here's the thing. I found that way of life, that way of thinking, to be deeply unfulfilling. Montgomery Burns on The Simpsons up on the hill by himself, or Daniel Plainview on There Will Be Blood, who both of these are just illustrating what happens when humans lean into their selfishness and just go for it. You crush everybody else, to hell with everyone else. It's all about me. Well, it's not very satisfying. It's a miserable way to exist. And that's when I realized that I had a choice. This was not a choice based on my story. This was a choice based on just my pure existence. As a human being, I could choose predation, I could choose alienation, I could make it all about me, but that really sucked. And what I came to understand was I could choose compassion. And compassion was so much more desirable, so much more fulfilling. When I close people out, my world shrinks. When I go to war, I alienate and I feel smaller, less than. But when I choose compassion, when I forgive and extend grace and open my heart to people and find ways to put myself in their shoes, to feel, to understand, and connect with them, my world expands, and it's deeply satisfying. I don't know if any other creature is capable of compassion to the degree that we are. Maybe some are, we don't know, but I do know this: as a human being, the ability to show compassion is one of the glories of being human. I have the capacity, because I am a storyteller, because I am able to see you and me and make that distinction and understand that you have a self just like I have a self. Because I have that consciousness, I have the ability to show compassion, together, and passion. I can look at you and your situation, and I can let your life, your story, your loves and hates and everything that you are, I can understand that and I can embrace that. And when I do that, I feel like this widening, this deepening. And the beautiful thing about compassion is that I can show it to anyone, to everyone. I may not agree. I may even have to fight some people. In a pinch, I may have to kill somebody, but I never have to do it in hate, or because I'm, caught up with this idea that I'm on the side of good. I'm the guy in the white hat and they're the one in the black hat. I understand that we are all the same and that our common curse is our deepest bond. What I feel about people who don't live by compassion is I just feel sorry for them. It's not because I'm good or better than anybody. It's just because I feel sorry for someone who misses out on the best thing about being human. It's like someone who goes to a restaurant and let's say they sit down at a table by the restroom and it smells and it's dark and dingy and they hate, and then they look over and see, oh, there's a table open by the window, and they move over to the table by the window. Were they a good person for moving to the window? No. They just saw something more desirable, more attractive. And that, to me, is what compassion is. It's just, hey, you don't have to camp out by that stinky selfishness garbage bin over there. Open up your heart and try a little compassion. And a little phrase that I find myself saying to myself a lot is just to try to stop gaslighting myself that I'm this good person because I choose compassion. I say I choose compassion not because I am good, but because it is good. And then I express the compassion as a part of my story as kindness to people. I look as much as possible to harmonize. And I love that word harmonize, because harmony is not the obliteration of one thing for another. It's two notes being together in a way that creates a greater beauty. And as human beings, we can do that. Music, to me, is one of the most amazing things. Music illustrates how, as human beings, we are capable of creating a story. We call it a song, right, or a symphony or whatever. But we write this completely made up piece that has a beginning and a middle and an end. It goes on an adventure, and it has harmony, and we play music. We play it. We don't work at it, and then we do it in harmony. So facing up, one way that I think of it is it's music played in harmony. And I hope you can hear in that the music is the adventure, the song that I tell. Played is the spirit of play as opposed to hope. I play it, and I play it in harmony, as in, like, I'm looking for ways to harmonize. As the poem, my little poem goes, I'd love to harmonize with you, make music till the day is through. So when it comes to love, I still use the word. I mean, it's part of our language. I tell my kids I love them. I tell my wife I love her, but I don't kid myself about it. I desire my wife. And by the way, that's what she wants. If I told my wife, I love you unconditionally, I mean, objectively, you're abhorrent to me. I can't stand anything about you, but I love you because I'm just such a good, virtuous person. Does that make her feel good? No. No one wants to be loved that way. We want to be desired. I tell my kids that I love them, and I mean that. I desire them. I care a lot about them. They matter to me. But I don't kid myself that I'm some virtuous person. I choose to love them. I mean, if I'm such a virtuous person, why don't I love all kids? Well, I kind of do, but I wouldn't sacrifice the way I do for my own kids for somebody else's kids. Why not? Well, because I've chosen to put value on and care most about those that have, come as a product of my marriage with Julie. It's not because I'm some saint. What about a Mother Teresa who, working with the poor in Calcutta, would you look at her and say, wow, she's just such a giving, selfless person? I think that, of course, she's gone now, but I suspect she would tell you, I get more joy in doing that, opening my heart to these people and embracing them. I get so much joy from that I'm not virtuous. I get way more than I give. Now, I do understand that when people use the word love, they might use it to mean these kinds of things. When they say the word love, they mean, they can mean these very compassionate kinds of expressions. So again, the word love is just so wide in its meaning that it's almost useless. But however it's used, it never means virtue. It always means an expression of my desire. And what I object to about love and the idea of love is this notion that love is good, or that love is somehow makes me better than others because I am loving. Everyone's loving. It's just, what do they love? And my point is a simple one, and that is that the deepest fulfillment of our desire is compassion and kindness.